Hey guys, today is Sunday, November 21st, 2021, and I'm going to go over what got done yesterday and what my goals are for today. So yesterday I worked on starting to refactor for some of the slides from the ministry content I put out in preparation for migrating to kind of a more programmatically driven system here where I write everything in Markdown, paste it into the web pages on my website built with a static site generator, and then write a couple custom scripts of my own to inject them into the slides template kind of programmatically. And this should save time in the long term, means that I only have to deal with content in one source, basically all in this markdown format. So that was what I spent a lot of Saturday doing yesterday. And I also spent some time kind of thinking about what my goals and priorities should be now that I'm done mostly moving from the apartment to the house. And we're all settled in the house now. And so kind of what things should I be focusing on next, given that that burden is kind of finally off my shoulders. It's kind of been there for 5 months, 6 months, maybe ever since I started this process. And now that's mostly closing out. So where should I turn my attention next? Also had our Bible study meeting like we normally do on Saturday, kind of more casual this week, but that still took up maybe 3 or 4 hours in the afternoon there. Now today, actually that should be 6 because this here is a Sunday. Well, we went for a hike this morning. We now live quite a bit closer to local nature trails than I did in the apartment, probably by about 10 minutes. So we're only about 10 minutes away from a really nice maintained trail for mountain bikers, but you can go hiking on it too. You go opposite the direction that the bikers go. And so we probably did a 3.5 mile hike or something this morning. Nice weather, nice and cool here in the winter months in Georgia. After that, I kind of cleaned my room a little. So I'd unpacked some stuff, but kind of just dumped it in the corner of my room on the floor while I was busy sorting everything, and kind of want to keep my room cleaner here. One of the secrets to it is just having a bin where you can kind of toss stuff without having to organize it all so specifically at any one time. So I'm just going to have that hiding under my bed. Nice plastic bin, easy to just dump stuff in there, but it makes everything look really clean and organized. So I'm kind of worked on cleaning my room, setting up the structure a little bit. I brought in the shelving unit that I thought I might keep in the garage, but decided against it. Gonna have it in my room here so I can organize some of the electronic stuff, the stuff related to the GoPros, stuff like that. So organize my room here. Looks quite clean now. Happy with how it turned out. And then in line with this, reworking the content to refactor the ministry slides into Markdown directly, I set up a couple things that had been kind of bugging me about this here. And in particular, one of them was reworking the special content sections, the styling for them, such that the scripture quotes appeared with a different background color than the normal ones. Now, actually, this has nothing to do with the slides in particular. This is something that I needed to do in general anyway, just so that the scripture quotes would stand out differently from normal quotes. So normal quotes have a background color of silver here. Previously, the scripture quotes had a background color of silver as well. And so if you were to look at one, like you will if I toggle the embedded here, now you can see this is a scripture quote. Now it's got a brown background color. And so you can obviously tell that this section here is different from this one. I have the nesting set up nice and the padding. And so you can see that this thing is part of this wider section here, but it's obviously something different. Whereas before, when this was silver too, you couldn't tell that these two things were distinguished. I mean, the line was still here and the header was still here, but it looked kind of bad. And so I wanted to distinguish the quote background colors. So whenever I'm quoting from the Bible here, I want that to be a different color than the normal quotes when I'm quoting from a source. So like from here, I'm quoting from Ichthus here. Well, this is silver, and this is going to be this kind of brown color here. So I mean, not brown as in like it's not really ugly. Light brown, tan, I suppose is a better word here. And so this is something that I spent time doing. And in fact, I actually rejiggered all of the special content sections, and I have them all listed out here, kind of in the order here. We're going through all the primary colors of the rainbow, just kind of using all the colors available to us to distinguish different types of content. So you can see here's all the content types listed out here. So cautionary notes, technical discussion sections, side notes, application, indirect reasoning, examples, post hoc notes, quotes, and then scripture quotes here. Those are all the sections I have. So I guess that's what, 6, 7, 8, 9 sections, different types of content sections here. Something that is definitely pretty unique, I think, to the sites that I'm running. Haven't seen it done too much, but I think it's really useful, kind of breaking things out by section, helping your readers understand kind of what the point of the content that you're listing for them is. So I got this set up. So now scripture nesting in other content sections works well. That was my goal here, particularly in quote sections. The other thing I did was that we have this bug with the footnote library that I'm using for the footnotes in my content. And so here's the library, the GitHub repository for it. It's this nice JavaScript library. It actually doesn't rely on jQuery. It's kind of a fork of another library that does rely on jQuery. Hence, the other library is called Bigfoot. This one's called Littlefoot, which is kind of making fun of the fact that jQuery is kind of a expensive, kind of a big library. And so if you don't have to rely on jQuery, well, then it's a smaller package size, hence Littlefoot. But it's a JavaScript library that turns footnotes into these hoverable tooltips here. So very useful. I'd had it set up on my site before I'd done the research to pick this library and get it set up and stuff. But the problem I was having, so I actually opened an issue earlier today here. The problem I was having was that the title tooltip on the footnote button was partially blocking the footnote tooltip itself. And so I'm not going to bother showing you exactly, this is what it looks like when I initialize it on my site and the settings there. But this is the problem I was having, was that you'd hover over the tooltip button here, or sorry, the footnote button here to get the tooltip to show, but then you'd have the title, so the title attribute in the HTML saying, you know, this is footnote 1 or whatever. Well, that would actually block part of the footnote body itself. And so that's no good. I wanted to figure out how to not have that. And so I asked the question, okay, what's the best way to go about this? I kind of figured out my own problem after doing some more reading. And so reworked it to use a template, a different template for the button. And actually, I decided rather than having just this thing here, which doesn't give you any indication of which footnote it is, well, I decided why not add the footnote numbers back. So I did that in the button template here, added the number as an injected parameter. And then I also updated the styling of my own because it was playing kind of wonky with my other inherited styles in CSS here. So did some custom styling, messed around with some of the padding and stuff. And here's what it looks like now. So I went from it looking like this, having the title tooltip problem blocking part of the footnote. Well, I got rid of that. I just deleted the title in the template that I'm defining here. We still have the ARIA label for accessibility purposes. So title is not necessarily necessary for accessibility. Here's a document from the Mozilla developers talking about this, that you know, you need to kind of make your sites accessible. So ARIA is the accessibility framework here, but title is not necessarily part of that. I linked a couple Stack Overflows talking about that. So after that, I just kind of deleted title and then styled it a little bit. But here's what it ends up looking like in the end. As you can see, the title is gone, not blocking footnote text. And now we have these nice numbered footnotes here. Looks very nice, very clean, happy with how it turned out with the rounded corners there on the border radius. And yeah, so I kind of solved my own problem. I mean, still keeping the issue open just in case the author of the package decides, hey, you could do this other way. Maybe it's easier, or it just has comments or whatever. But spent some time, I mean, several hours today figuring this out and figuring out how I wanted the footnotes to look, and very much a software developer type thing here, but glad I spent the time to do it. It's something I've been meaning to do for a while here, figuring out how to not have to deal with this bug here. And so now we figured it out, and we also have numbered footnotes. So happy with how things turned out here. So that's what I did today. And I will check back in with everyone else again tomorrow.